Hi and welcome to this on Maths prediction for the AQA Paper 1 Foundation Tier Maths GCSE November 2020. Enjoy! Hi and welcome to this on Maths prediction for the Maths GCSE November 2020 series. So this is a really strange year, as I'm sure you're aware, that we haven't had a GCSE paper in the summer. This paper will be the first GCSE paper almost all of you will have sat, with the exception being Year 13 students who are resitting the Maths GCSE. So it's really, really important that you are prepared, both in your knowledge of the subject and just to your knowledge about how the exam works. And this is what this prediction is supposed to be used for. Please don't 100% rely on this prediction. First of all, the accuracy has been good in the past, but it's never 100%. There's always topics that are not predicted that come up in the actual paper. So make sure you do your revision. What some students do is they do this test now, see how far they can go with it, go off and revise, and then do the test later on to see whether they've improved their marks. And the way they can do that is, you can do it too, is if you go to onmaths.com, you can try this paper online for free. The numbers change each time, so you're not just remembering answers, you actually have to work them out. And it will give you a grade as you go along on the paper, just like this video. So you'll see exactly what grade you are at each point of the paper. We've got loads and loads of other stuff on the website. I'm not going to go into it, but there's loads and loads of stuff that you can also do. And if you click up here, which I think is there, it will take you straight through to the correct paper, so you can just get started straight away. If you want to sit back and just watch how to do the questions, feel free. If you want to give that a go first and then come back to this video, there's a link to this video in the actual GCSE paper on our site. Without further ado, I should say everything is completely free. You are not charged for anything on onmaths.com. So, let's get started. Okay, in this question we're asked to do 2 cubed, and whenever you cube a number, you times it by itself 3 times. So that'll be 2 times 2 times 2. So whatever the power is, which is this number up here, you times the base, which is the big number, by itself that many times. Now some people still think the answer is 6 to this, so let's just work it through. So 2 times 2 is 4, so it becomes 4 times 2, and 4 times 2 is 8. So the answer is 8. Okay, so for this question you need to understand what vertices are. There are 3 properties you'll be asked about, and that's faces, edges and vertices. Faces are like a side of the shape. You can lay your hand flat on a face. An edge you can run your finger along, and a vertice or vertex or vertices, you would hurt yourself. You'd hurt your finger. They're pointy. Okay, so for this one there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices at the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices at the back. So in total there are 10 vertices. To fill in this frequency column, all we've got to find is how many 11s, 12s, 13s and 14s there are. So I'm going to start with 11, and I can count 1, 2, 3 11s. Then 12s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 12s. 13s, 1 13, and 14, 1, 2, 3. And it's a good idea in the exam to cross them out when you've counted them, and therefore you don't accidentally count them twice, and you can have a look and see if you've got any left over. What you could also do is add a tally chart to the table if it helps, but if you do a tally chart, make sure you write down the number as well. Okay, with these questions we've got to understand the rules of BIDMAS. So it's brackets first, then indices, then division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So there's no brackets for this first one, but there is a division. So we've got to make sure we do the division first, and then we do the addition. So 55 divided by 5 is 11, and then 11 plus 7 is going to be 18. The next one, there's no brackets, indices, division, but there is a multiplication, so we need to do that bit first. So 3 plus 11 times 5 is 55, and so that's going to be 58. And it's really important to remember to do the multiplication first, because the most common wrong answer there is to do 14 times 5. Now, next one, we've got to use our number line and understand the rules of negatives. Well, the first rule of the rule of negative we need here is when you've got an add and minus together, the minus wins. So minus 7, and it's going to become minus 2. And then we just use our number line. So we go to minus 7 on the number line, and we go left 2, 1, 2. So that would be minus 9. So the answer to that is minus 9. And the last one, the rule of negatives we need to know is that when you have two negatives together, it turns into a plus. So if I write the right number, so it's going to be 2 plus 15, which is 17. On this scale on the side of the jug, we're not given the little tiny notches. So the word estimate means that we're not going to get it exactly right maybe, but we're roughly going to be correct. Now there are wrong answers to this. So if I wrote the answer 22, which would be down here somewhere, that's clearly wrong because we know that the water is above 30. We know the water's between 30 and 40. And if you have a look, it's less than halfway. So we're expecting a number that's below 35. I think if you wrote the number 35, you would get that wrong because it's clearly less than halfway. I think the numbers, probably to get it right, you might get away with 34, but definitely 33 or 32. I think, personally, it's closer to 33, but some of you might look at that and think it's closer to 32, and chances are we'll both get the marks. Okay, so in this question we are looking at comparing these two fractions. Now at the moment we can't easily compare them because one of them has a denominator, the bottom number of 3, the other's denominator is 9. So what I'm going to do is convert them so they're the same. Now both of these we can convert so that they're both 9. If I times top and bottom of this one by 3, I get 6 over 9. Now you can see now that 6 over 9 compared to 5 over 9, and we're looking for the larger one. Well, the larger one will be A. Okay, so we're going to start by putting our lines in, and we've got a times 11 there, x, and then we've got a minus 5, so we need to get rid of those two things. We need to get rid of that times 11, and we need to get rid of that take away 5. And it really matters which order we do this. If you've got an add or subtract, you've got to get rid of that first. So we're going to get rid of that minus 5 first. We're going to do the opposite of taking away 5. We call it the inverse operation. The opposite of take away 5 is add 5. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. I'm going to show the examiner that by writing a plus 5 on both sides. So we had 11x minus 5. Now we just have 11x. We haven't done anything with the 11 yet. And we're going to add 5 to this side, which will be 33. Okay, next we need to get rid of that times 11 there. So this times 11 there. And to do that we do the opposite of times 11, which is divide 11. So we're going to divide both sides by 11. So we've got x equals 33 divided by 11, which is 3. So x equals 3. And you can check that out by looking at the original equation. 11 times 3 is 33. Take away 5 is 28, so we know it's correct. Right, so we're asked to find 6% of 120. So I'm going to start off by finding 10%. And to do that, I'm just going to divide the 120 by 10, which will give me 12. I'm then going to work out 5%. And to do that, all I'm just going to do is halve the 10%. And that will be 6. And then I'm going to find 1%. Now to do that, I'm just going to get the 10% and I'm going to divide it by 10. So I'm going to get the 1% and just divide it by 10, which would be 1.2. Now to get to 6%, I'm just going to add the 5 and the 1%. I'm just going to add this one and this one to get to 6%. So I'm going to add 6 and 1.2. And I can do this using a quick column. So 6.0 plus 1.2. And so 0 plus 2 is 2, 6 plus 1 is 7, so my answer will be 7.2. Okay, the first thing to do with this question is realise that we've got metres in our diagram and we're going to construct a diagram using centimetres. So the first thing I'll do is just convert all these lengths into centimetres. That's going to be 300 centimetres, 500 centimetres, 100 centimetres, and 600 centimetres. And next thing to realise is we have a scale, and the scale says 100 in real life is 1 on our diagram. So to get from real life to the diagram, we're going to divide by 100. And that's what I'm going to do with each of these lengths. So 300 divided by 100 is 3, this one's going to be 5, and then 1, and then 6. Okay, and let's start drawing the diagram. Now I'm going to start off at the bottom, the top left, and I know I'm going to go 6 down, so I'm going to start off doing that. So we're going to go 6 down from that point, and let's line it up a bit better. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason we go 6 down is it says it's a centimetre grid, so it's going to be 6 squares. We go 3 to the right here, and then it says we're going to go 5 down, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to go 1 across. So we're currently here, and we've just got to figure out what we're going to do next. Well, we've gone 5 down, and we need to go 6 down in total, so we need to go another 1 down. We've got 1 to the left, but we need to go 3 to the left for us to get all the way, so it's going to be 2 there. So we're going to go 1 down to line it up with the other length that we've already done, and then we're going to go 2 left to complete the shape. And that's it. Always try and just make sure you check the diagram. You can see on this diagram it looks nothing like the diagram they've shown above. Okay, it looks nothing like that shape, but that's fine because that's not drawn to scale. We have drawn a diagram to scale. So we're asked to find the median from this stem and leaf diagram, and the good thing about stem and leaf diagrams is that it automatically puts the numbers in order of size. So the first thing with a median is to put them in order of size, so we don't need to do that, but we still need to find the middle one. Now there's 2 ways of doing this. There's find out how many numbers there are, add 1 to it, divide by 2 and find that number. But I'm going to just do the crossing out method. So I'm going to cross out the smallest, which is 31 here, and the biggest, which is 66. Then I'm going to cross out the second smallest, which is 40, and the second biggest, which is 65. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I'm left with either 1 or 2 in the middle. Now in this case, I'm left with 2 in the middle, which is the 57 and the 58. So when that happens, you add them together and divide by 2, or you can just find out the halfway number. Now halfway between 57 and 58 is going to be 57.5. So the biggest thing with this question really is to understand what's going on. Basically, there's 2 buses, the 157 and 183. 157's being released every 15 minutes and the 183 every 10 minutes. And we need to find what time they're both being released. So this is a lowest common multiple question. So we're going to have the 15 times table and the 10 times table, and we're going to find out at what point they have the same numbers. So if I just write out a few of the 15 times table and a few of the 10 times table, you can clearly see that it's going to be 30 is the lowest common multiple. Now it says that the buses start at 9 o'clock, so 30 minutes after that will be 9:30. Okay, so the first thing to do with this question is realise that x is sandwiched between -12 and -5. And all we need to do now is figure out what the sign's going to be. So x is going to be greater than -12, but it's also going to be equal to -12 because this dot here is filled in. X is smaller than -5, but it can't equal -5 because this dot here is hollow. Whenever answering questions involving ratios, always just double check that you read the question, because Here it might look like the total is £35, but if you read the question it says Adele and Bert received £35. Now, to do this question we've got to first of all work out how much Adele and Bert are getting in the ratio, how many parts. So Adele gets 3 parts and Bert gets 2 parts. So A and B parts equals 3 for Adele and 2 for Bert. So that's 5 parts in total that they get. Now it says they receive £35, so we need to work out what 1 part is worth. So to find out what 1 part is worth, we do the £35 that theirs is worth, and we divide it by 5 because they have 5 parts in that ratio. 35 divided by 5 is 7. So 1 part is worth £7. Now Chris has 6 parts, so Chris, we're doing now, he has 6 parts. So we do 6 times the £7 that each of his parts are worth, so it's going to be £42. And it's really easy to make mistakes with ratios questions by not reading the question, so just make sure you double check that you understand what the question's asking. Okay, so in this bearing question we need to remember that the north lines are always parallel. So if I extend the line here, that will help me with this question, and we'll see why in a second. So it says the bearing of B from A is 35 degrees. Work out the bearing of A from B. So if it's from B, I'm at B and I'm working out the angle of A. So bearings always start from north and go clockwise. So the angle I'm looking for is this angle here. Now I know half of it, or I know a bit of it. I know this bit here is 180 degrees because it's a straight line. So really all I need to do is work out this last bit here. Now, thinking back to the fact that the north lines are always parallel lines, we know that the 35 degrees here is going to be the same as the 35 degrees here, and that's because they're Z angles or alternate angles. So the total angle, the total bearing of A from B is just 180 degrees, that straight line on the right, plus the 35 degrees, the angle we know is alternate to the angle on the left hand side. And so when you add those together you get 215. So the bearing is 215 degrees. Okay, so whenever we're asked to estimate with a scatter graph, we're always going to start off by drawing a line of best fit. So I'm going to draw my line of best fit, and yours might be different to mine, that's absolutely fine. Now it's asking us to estimate the height and it's giving us the width, and that's really important because the width is up the side. So a common mistake would be to read 17 from the bottom, but the height is at the bottom. So we've got to check the scale first, and it seems like it's going up in 2, so let's just check that. Yep, it's going up in 2s. So what I want to do is draw a line across at the width of 17, which will be roughly here. I'm going to stop when it hits the line of best fit, and I'm going to draw a line down, and I'm going to read off what that is. Well, this scale is also going up in 2s, I think. Yep, it is. So the estimate of the height would be 4 centimeters. Okay, so this question asks us to decrease 120 by 26%, and this will be a non-calculator question. So to get 26%, we need 10%. We need then 20% by doubling it. We'll need 5% by halving the 10%, and then we'll need 1% by dividing the 10% by 10. So 10% is easy because we just divide the amount, which is 120, by 10, so we get 12, and then we double it to get the 20%, so 24. So going back to the 10%, if we halve that, then we get 5%, so that's 6. And then to get 1%, we go back to the 10% and divide it by 10, so that would be 1.2. Okay, so which of these do we need to make 26%? So I need to add this one here, so 20, That would make 25% and then 26%. So it's those three. So we're adding these three. So going down, we've got just a 0.2 here. Then we've got 4 plus 6, which is 10, plus 1 is 11. So carry the 1. And then we've got the 2 and the 1, which make 3. So we're decreasing 120 by 31.2. So we're doing 120, take away 31.2. Okay, so I can't do the first one. I can't do nothing, take away 2. So I'm going to put a 0.0 there. I'm going to borrow 1 or take 1 from that 2 and carry, and that then becomes a 1. Carry it along. Then I need to take 1 from that 10 and give it to this one. So 10 take away 2 is going to be 8. 9 take away 1 is going to be 8. Can't do 1 take away 3. So that's going to be an 11 take away 3, which is 8. And then that's it. So my answer is 88.8. Okay, so the first thing to realise with this question is what perimeter means. The perimeter is the distance around a shape. Now we've got a lot of x's and numbers, but it does say it wants an expression for the perimeter. So we're not looking for a number as an answer, we're looking for an expression, so letters and numbers. Okay, so there are a few sides missing, so I'm going to try and find out this side first. And to get this side, we're going to add the 5x here with the x there. So 5x plus x is 6x. So we've got that one. Now, if the total distance across is 7x plus 16, and the bit we know is 6x plus 11, then the bit we don't know we'll have to add up together to make the 7x plus 16. So we need another x and we need another 5. Okay, we've labelled all the sides. So what I'm going to do is pick a point on the shape, and I'm just going to start walking around the shape and writing down everything as I go. So perimeter equals, and we've got 6x plus 11 plus 5x plus x plus 5 plus 6x plus 7x plus 16 plus x. So we've got quite a lengthy string of algebra there. Now we'll always need to simplify this. Okay, so if I collect the x's first, so we've got a 6x plus a 5x plus an x plus 6x plus 7x plus an x, which is going to be 26x. Okay, let's do the numbers next. So we've got 11 plus 5 plus 16, which is going to be 32. Okay, so the perimeter is going to be 26x plus 32. Now, a different way I could have done this is just focused on this one and doubled them. Now, let's have a look and see how that works. If this length here is 6x, then these two here would add together to make 6x. So in total we have 12x going down. All the ones going across is going to be double this one. So it's all going to add together to make 14x plus 32. And then if you add those together, that would also give us the 26x plus 32. This question doesn't ask you to show the reasons for your working out, however most of the questions will, so let's try and make sure we write down some reasons as we go. The first one I'd go for is this one here, which I'm going to call A. Now I know that A is 180 take away 115,
So 180 take away 100 is 80, take away 15 is 65 degrees. And the reason is it's angles on straight line. And if I know A, I know that B as well. So B is going to equal 65 degrees as well, because it's an isosceles triangle. All the bottom angles in an isosceles triangle equal, assuming that the isosceles triangle has the two same sides on the left and right. Obviously, if it's rotated, it's not the bottom two angles, but it's always going to be these two angles here. Okay, so B is 65. Now I can go straight to X. Because these are parallel lines, X and B create a Z angle, and we need to figure out what the Z angle is called, but we're going to say X is 65, it's the same as B. Now, corresponding is the F one, interior or co-interior or allied angles are the C ones, so the one we've got left is alternate. They're alternate angles, they're Z angles. So the answer I can write is 65 degrees. When numbers are quite small, it's quite easy just to do trial and error to find the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. But when the numbers are larger, then the way we do it is with product of prime factors. Now this could come up on a paper which has previously had product of prime factors, and this is distinct enough maybe to come up in its own right. So just because product of prime factors have already appeared, this question has already done that bit for you. So how are we going to do it with these large numbers? And 3,675 and 84 are pretty large numbers. Well, the way we do this is with a Venn diagram. Now I'm going to use the space down here to do this, and what I'm going to do is, because I find it easier, I'm just going to write it not in index form. And then when I do my Venn diagram, I can just cross them out when I've done them. So 2 times 2 times 3 times 7. Okay, so let's construct myself a Venn diagram. Okay. Now, I'm not very good at drawing circles, but I'm going to try my best here. I'm going to try and make the circles as big as possible. So we've got 3,675. I'm just labelling which circle is which, and this is 84. And to do the Venn diagram, we're just going to go through the numbers and write out which ones overlap and which ones don't. So if I have a look at the 84 first, we've got a 2 there. Well, 2 doesn't go into 3,675, so that 2 is going to be on its own there, and this 2 here is going to be on its own. Okay, I think that's it. So the next one, now this 3 appears in both lists, so this 3 goes in the middle. The 5 here only appears in 3,675, and same with this one. And then we've got 1 7 that appears in both lists, but we've got another 7 in the 3,675 list. So that's my completed Venn diagram. Now, to answer question A, to find the highest common factor, all you need to do is multiply the overlapping ones together. So the highest common factor is 21, and that's it. Here we are, it's that easy. Now, to find the lowest common multiple, which is question B, what you need to do is times all of them together, every single one. Now you might wonder, well hang on, surely that's just going to give us 3,675 times 84, so why couldn't I just do that? Well, the overlapping ones we're only going to write once, so the 3 and the 7 in the middle, we're only writing them once. So we would, if we did 3,675 times 84, we would be timesing by 3 and then timesing by 7 again. So we've already done the middle bit, so we've already done the 21 in the middle, and I need to do the ones around the side. So we've got 5 times 5 times 7 times 2 times 2. Now on the non-calculator paper, it might be a bit more generous with the numbers. This one is probably going to be more on the calculator paper, although there are ways that you can do this. For instance, I could pair the 5s and the 2s up, and that would make 10. The 5 and the 2 there would make another 10, so we've got 100. So all we need to do is 21 times 7 and then put 2 zeros in the end of it. 21 times 7 is 147, so put 2 zeros at the end of it. If it's on the calculator paper, you just literally use your calculator to times them out. And so that's 14,700. Well, the chances of us finding that with trial and error are close to impossible, so you can see why this method is so good. Okay, so there's two things that you need to find out in order to get an equation of a line segment. And the equation of a line segment is always y equals mx plus c. I say always, but for this question, it's useful to use y equals mx plus c. M is your gradient, and c is your y-intercept. Now the gradient is going to be the easier of the two to find. And to find the gradient, so we just need a simple formula. And the gradient is change in y over change in x. So with this question, the y values are these two here, so the second ones in each, and our x values are the first two. So the change in y is 16 take away 7. So how much did 7 change onto the second coordinate? And the change in x is 8 take away 2. Now it's really common for students to get this mixed up because you're told since very, very young that you always put x before y, but in this formula the y goes on top and the x goes below. So 16 take away 7 is 9, 8 take away 2 is 6, so it's 9 over 6, which we can divide to 1 by 3, so it becomes 3 over 2, so it's 1.5 or 3 over 2. Okay, so what we want to do is just pick this first coordinate here, so 2, 7, and I'm going to write out y equals mx plus c. Now we know what m is, and for this point we know what y and we know what x is, so I'm going to substitute in the values of y and x for that point there, and the value of m that we found here, and this gradient is just m, means the same thing, and I'm going to put those both into this formula. So for our coordinate, y is 7, m is 3 over 2, and x, and I'm going to put this in brackets to make it a bit simpler, x is 2 for our coordinate, and it's only c that we've got to find out. Okay, so I can put my lines in, because we are solving, we're trying to find out what c is. So the first thing to do is 1.5 times 2, well that's just going to be 3, plus c, and we're going to take away 3 both sides to get c on its own, so 4 equals c, or c equals 4. And you can check that for the other coordinate, so you could put these in to that equation, now that we know what it is. Well, let's just write it out to be sure. So y equals 3 over 2, or 1.5, x plus 4. And if we put in the value of 8 here, so 1.5 times 8 plus 4, is that equal to 16? Well, 1.5 times 8 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. So our formula is 3 over 2x plus 4. Now there are other ways of doing this, but for me, this is by far the easiest. You find the gradient, you put it into y equals mx plus c, and you put in one of the coordinates, the values of y and x, and to find c, and then you just write out the equation.
Okay, so this is quite a complicated question because there's two ratios and they're talking about slightly different things. We're also given an amount of one of the sides of the ratio, or one of the sides of one of the ratios, and we're asked for the amount of the first side of the ratio. So it's all a little bit complicated, but the way I'd like to start these things off is by just writing down what I know from the question. So we've got football, rugby, and we've got tennis. So football to rugby is 4 to 3, and rugby to tennis is 6 to 13. So these two ratios here are kind of incompatible at the moment. Got this one here, which is linking the football and the rugby, and we've got this one here which is linking the rugby and the tennis. What I'd like to be able to do is kind of like put the two together and make just one ratio. So if you notice from the one I've put around a blue square or blue rectangle round, we've got the rugby as 3 parts of that, but in the green one the rugby is 6 parts of that. So what if I times both of these by 2? If I times both of them by 2, I get 8 to 6, and that actually matches the other ratio. So what I can then do, because it's the same parts of rugby, I can then say that it's 13 parts tennis. Okay, so all I'm interested in here is matching these two up to make these both the same. So I times the one in blue by 2 and it made it exactly the same. Now it says that 39 students picked tennis, so I need to find some way of getting the tennis to be 39. Well, that's going to be just simply timesing it by 3. And if I times that one by 3, I've got to times this one by 3, and I've got to times this one by 3. So 6 times 3 will be 18. And 8 times 3 will be 24. So we've already answered the question, because if there's 39 tennis, there's going to be 24 football. This is not the easiest question, or ratio question out there, but if you just try and link the two ratios together, then it will start to make sense and it will start to become a lot easier.
Okay, so first of all, we're asked to find that to prove that they are congruent. Now, congruent means exactly the same lengths, exactly the same angles, exactly the same shape, so exactly the same thing, but you can rotate with congruency. Okay, so the proofs are side, side, side. Well, we only have 2 of the sides. Now, theoretically, we could work out the other side by using Pythagoras' theorem, but we don't actually have to do that. So you could use side, side, side by using Pythagoras, working out the third side, and then working from there. The other one is AAS, or ASA, which is angles, angle, side, angle. Now, we're only given one angle, which is the 90 degrees, so we're not going to be using that one. The other one is side, angle, side. Well, we have a side, and an angle and another side, but the problem is the angle needs to be between the sides, and here the 90 degrees isn't between those two sides, so it's not going to be that one. The last one is RHS, right angle, hypotenuse, side. So let's have a look and see if we've got that one. Well, we've got the right angle, we've got the hypotenuse, and then we've got another side. All 3 of those, obviously the right angle is the same, but all 3 of those are the same. So the right angle is there, the hypotenuse is 12 meters, and then the other side is 7 meters. So the proof that we use for this is just RHS. Okay, first thing to realise with this question is how you calculate the mean. The mean is the sum of all the values over the amount of the values. Now this actually creates a triangle, just like speed, distance, time triangle. Works in the same way. So we have mean here, we have the sum at the top, and the amount at the bottom. So we normally do the sum divided by the amount, but actually with this question we need to go the other way. And we need to work out the sum or the amount or whatever. Let's have a look. So it says there's 12 boys and 8 girls, so in total there's 20 children. So that's the first thing we need to realise. It says the mean number of coins for the children is 15, and the mean number of coins for the boys is 13, and we've got to work out the mean number of coins for the girls. So we know how many girls there are, which is 8, but we don't know the total amount of coins for the girls. For the boys. Okay, so where do we start? Well, it would be helpful to work out how much coins there are in total. So if I look at the triangle there, we know, so let's write down total children. and try and show my working out as I go. We know that the mean of all the children is 15. So in my triangle, I've got 15 for the mean. We know that there are 20 children in total, and we can work out the sum by timesing those together. So we're going to do 15 times 20. So there's 300 coins altogether. Okay, so now next we're going to work out, well, we're given the boys, so let's work out how many the boys have. So same triangle. We know the mean for the boys is 13, and we know that there are 12 boys. So we'll do 13 times 12, which is 156. So to work out how many girls there are, or to work out the sum of the girls, we're going to do the sum of all the children, which is 300, take away the sum of the boys, which is 156. So we'll do 300, take away 156, which is 144. So we know what the girls add up to, because if the boys add up to 156 and the total children adds up to 300, then the girls must add up to 144. But we're asked for the mean for the girls. So to work out the mean, we just go back to our standard formula we had at the start, which is this one. To work out the mean, it's the sum, which we worked out as 144, over the total, and it says there's 8 girls. So we do 144 divided by 8, which equals 18. So our answer is 18. Okay, the easiest way of doing this question is to do yourself a quick number line. Now we put the number we're given in the middle, 24. Try and think what the next number down would have been. Well, it's to the nearest kilogram, so it's going to be 23. The next number up would have been 25. Now, the maximum weight it could have been is going to be halfway between what it was and the next one up. So the next one up is 25, so halfway between those two is 24.5. So the maximum it could have been is 24.5. Now note here, I know that 24.5 would have technically rounded to 25, and some of you might be tempted to write this as an answer. Now you'd get the mark if you wrote that as the answer, however, that is the same, exactly the same as 24.5. It's one of those weird things in maths that 24.49 recurring is the same as 24.5. And this one here is a heck of a lot easier to work with, especially if there's a further part to this question. So you will always get the mark for writing down 24.5. The only exception to that is if something's not continuous, and if it's just whole numbers. So if you're counting, if you're doing the number of people to the nearest 10 and it was 30, then you'd have to write down 34 as the maximum, because 35 would have rounded up to 40. But mostly it's going to be continuous, so mostly you can just write 24.5. Okay, so for the first thing to do with this question is to write it out twice. Whenever you square something, you times it by itself, and itself is the bracket x minus 15. And there are multiple ways of doing the next bit. I'm going to use the grid method for this one, and we put the first bracket at the top, so x minus 15, and the other bracket down the side, which is just x minus 15 as well, and we're timesing, so x times x is x squared, x times minus 15 is minus 15x, x times minus 15 is minus 15x, and then minus 15 times minus 15 is plus 225. Okay, then these two here will add together. So when we write our answer, it's x squared minus 30x plus 225. Now the really common answer to this is people thinking it's x squared plus 225. Okay, and that is wrong. Okay, students do that, and I'll put a big cross through it. Students do that because they don't understand that you're squaring the whole bracket, you're not just squaring the things inside the bracket. Okay, so we're given a graph in this question, and it says use the graph to work out if A and B are in direct proportion. Now there's a few rules for direct proportion. The main rule is it needs to go through the origin, so it needs to start the bottom left. And the second rule is it needs to be a straight line. So the one I've just drawn now is in direct proportion, but here you can see that it doesn't start at the origin, and if it did start at the origin it wouldn't be able to go down. It is a straight line though, but because it doesn't start at the origin, it doesn't go through 0, 0, you can say A and B are not in direct proportion. Okay, so we're asked to translate the shape by this vector and label it B. So for vectors, we always write down how far right at the top and how far up at the bottom. So we've got 2 right, but here it says -4, so that means we're going down 4. To do a translation, always start off picking a point on the shape, and I always pick up the top left one, but it doesn't matter as long as we're consistent with the later steps. And I'm going to follow this instruction, so it says 2 right, so let's actually just show that with arrows, it'll probably be easier. So 2 right, and it will be 4 down because it's always positive if it's up and negative if it's down. So 2 right and 4 down. So I'm going to jump 1, 2 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Now I'm going to then draw in shape B. Now be really careful. That point here on shape A shows that the point I'm moving is the top left of that shape. So when I'm drawing it in, I need to go 2 down from there, and then I'm going to go 4 across. So I'm just copying in that original shape, and let's join these up. Now if you're not sure, you can just pick the other another point, and we're going to go 2 right from the bottom right of the shape, and 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it joins up perfectly. We can do that with the last one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it joins up perfectly. And this is shape B. So you can just move one point and then draw the shape in, or you can move all the points and just join them up, and that's absolutely valid. Just make sure that you start and end on the same point on both the shapes, because often students might draw in the shape like that, even though they originally picked the top left one. So that would be not very good because that won't get the full marks. Okay, so this question looks a little bit complicated, in fact very complicated, but whenever you have this type of question where you've got different categories of people or items, the best method and the clearest method is to draw a quick two-way table, which I'm going to do now. So I'm going to draw a quick two-way table, and the options for the people are either they are male or they are female. We'll add a total column or a total row, and they either do maths, English, science, and again I'll add a total as well. Okay, so I can add some lines in as well. In fact, let's do a different colour to make it a bit clearer. Okay, the absolute total is 123. Okay, and we just go through and fill in the bits we do know. So 57 of the students are female, so 57 females. 15 of the 36 students who went to English were male, so there's 36 students who went to English, and 15 of them were male. 33 students went to science, and 29 males went to maths. So 29 males went to maths. Okay, what we asked for, so we're looking for the females who went to science. So if I highlight that, so females who went to science. So we're looking for this one here. Okay, so what you can do with this question is just try and fill out the bits that you can, right? So I'm going to start off with this top one here. Okay, and there's different ways of doing this. Now, if there's 123 students in total and 57 of them are female, then 66 of them will be male. Okay, because these two here have to add up to 123. Then if there's 66 males in total and 29 of them went to maths and 15 of them went to English, then that leaves 22 who went to science. And if there's 22 males who went to science and there's 33 people in total who went to science, then there's going to be 11 females who went to science. Now, there's different ways of doing this question, and actually you didn't need to do a two-way table for this question. It's just a lot easier to check your answer, and I find it a lot quicker. So if you have this type of question, a two-way table is probably the way to go. Okay, there are two things you need to know, main things you need to know about kind of advanced number indices. And the first one is that anything to the power of 0 is not 0, but it is 1. And the reason being is, say we had 10 squared divided by 10 squared, that would be, take away the powers, so that would be 10 to the power of 0, because when you divide you take away the powers, but any number divided by itself is 1. So therefore anything to the power of 0 is 1. The second thing you need to remember is if you have a negative power, all you do is you get the number, it's 3 to the power of 1, which is just 3, and put a 1 over it. So if you had 2 to the power of minus 2, that would be 1 over 2 squared, or a quarter. So the negative just results in putting a 1 over it. Now if you have a fraction, and we do it to the power of a negative, you actually just flip the fraction. And that's it. That's called finding reciprocal. So there we go. If you ask to find the reciprocal of something, you just put a 1 over it if it's an integer, if it's a whole number, or just flip it if it's a fraction. Okay, I understand the temptation in this question to say that the answer is 0. Please do not write that. Anything to the power of 0 is not 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Now you can think about this. If you do x to the power of 5 divided by x to the power of 5, then the rule is that you take away the indices when you divide them, so it's x to the power of 0, and we know that any number divided by itself is always equal to 1. So the answer to this question is always going to be 1. Just try and remember that. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So this question says that y is inversely proportional to x. So the way of writing that down is you do y fish, and fish isn't its actual name, but it looks like a fish, and that means y is proportional. The inversely bit means we put 1 over x, and that's the difference. So if it says inversely, you put 1 over it. Now we're going to get rid of that fish sign, so we're going to put an equals in. But to do that I need to times the right hand side by k, so it becomes k over x. Now we're given a value of y and a value of x, so we're going to use that to work out what k is, and it's k for constant, even though constant starts with a c. So k won't change, so once we find it once, it's going to stay that way. Okay, so y is 7 when x is 9.1. So I'm going to draw my lines in. I'm going to times both sides by 9.1. So 7 times 9.1 on the calculator, and I get 63.7 equals k, or k equals 63.7. So I'm going to go back to this equation here, and y and x will keep changing, but k won't. So y equals 63.7 over x, and that is our equation. Okay, so we've got a right angled triangle for this question, and we've got two lengths and an angle, so it's going to be a trigonometry question. but it's going to be on the none calculator most likely, so we need to try and find a way of finishing it off. But I'm going to start it as I would do normally. I'm going to go to the right angle, go opposite that, and that's your hypotenuse. I'm going to go to the marked angle, opposite that is the opposite. And the one left over is the adjacent, and that's the one between the right angle and the marked angle. And then go cross out the one we're not using. Well, A is 1 centimetre, O is X, so H isn't useful to us. Going to write out SO, CA, TOA, which obviously you need to know off by heart, which are the 3 triangles, trigonometric ratios. Now, we're going to cross out the ones with H in, because we're not using H. So we're left with TOA. Now TOA stands for tan the angle, which is 60 in this question, equaling opposite, which is X, over the adjacent, which is 1. And because we don't have a calculator, we can't then finish off this question without using the method I've described in an earlier video, so I'll leave a link in the description, where you just write out the numbers 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90. And the idea here is to work out the exact values of tan 30, tan 45, tan 60, is you circle the one you're trying to find. Well, here we're looking for tan 60, and you put the numbers on the left as a square root over the numbers on the right as a square root. So with this, it's going to be square root 3, because there's 3 numbers on the left, over square root 1. Which just equals root 3 over 1. So, to find out the value of x, well, if tan 60 is the same as root 3 over 1, and we've got the adjacent as 1, then x needs to be root 3. Right, so we're not given very much to go on in this question. This P means find the probability of. This one here says A and B. Now, the way I remember it is I just put a line through this and it's and. Now, the word and means you have to have A and B. You can't just have A or just have B. So the one we're looking for is this one here. So the probability is going to be 7 over, and we need the total, so all of them added together. So that's going to be 7 over 23. Let's check that. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 10 is 20, plus 3 is 23. So our answer is 7 over 23. Okay, in order to this question, we need to be familiar with the formula y equals mx plus c. Now, the m in this is the gradient, and the c, or the plus c, is the y-intercept. Now, the first thing we need to find out is the gradient, so we're going to work out m first. Now, to do the gradient, the formula is change in y over change in x. So if you have a look, we start off at 5 for the x and minus 10 for the y, and then we go to 13 for the x and minus 42 for the y. So to work out the change in y, we do the final y, which is minus 42, and we take away the initial y, which is minus 10. We do the same with the x's, so 13 take away 5, and find out how much it's changed. So those two minuses make a plus, so it's minus 42 plus 10, which is minus 32, over, and then we're going to do 13 take away 5, which is 8. Okay, so minus 32 divided by 8 is going to be minus 4. So the gradient is minus 4. So we know that it's going to be y equals minus 4x plus something. So we could need to work out what the y-intercept is. And the way of doing that is we just put in the two values here. We could have picked the other ones into y equals mx plus c. So we're going to find out what c is by substituting in those values. So it's going to be minus 10 equals, and then we've worked out the gradient, which is minus 4, times the x, which is 5, plus c. Now c is the one we're trying to find, so we're going to leave that as a c. Okay, so minus 10 equals minus 4 times 5 is minus 20 plus C, and we're going to add 20 to both sides. So that's going to be 10 equals C, or C equals 10. I mean, same thing. Okay, so we've worked out what C is, so we can actually write the formula now, or the equation of the line now. So it's minus 4x plus 10, which is plus 10 because C is positive. If C was negative, it would be take away the value. Okay, so we asked Hannah's invested some money in the bank, and she uses a formula to work out how much money she's given after a certain amount of years. So the 2,200 here is the amount of money that she had. The N here is the number of years. And the M is the amount in her account. So the only thing that really hasn't been discussed is this number here. Now, this number here is a multiplier. So to find a multiplier, you start off with 100%, you add on the percentage increase, and then you divide by 100. So we're just going to do the other way. So we're going to start off with the multiplier. We're going to times it by 100 to get the percentage. So it's 101.1%. And then what we're going to do is just take away 100%, because that's the initial amount, and see what we've done to it. Well, we've increased it by 1.1%. So that shows a 1.1% increase. So the first thing we're going to do is fill out the table. And so when it's x cubed plus 10, I'm just going to cube the x and then add 10. So 0 cubed plus 10 is just 10. And I always start off with 0 because it's normally the easiest. Then I go for the positive numbers. So 1 cubed is 1, plus 10 is 11. 2 cubed, so 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, plus 10 is 18. And 3 cubed, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, so that's going to be 37. Now minus 1 cubed. Now some people think that minus 1 cubed will be a positive number, but it's minus 1 times minus 1, which is 1, times minus 1, which actually is going to be minus 1. So it's minus 1 plus 10, which is going to be 9. And then minus 2 cubed is going to be minus 8 plus 10, which is going to be 2. So when we plot this on the graph, minus 2 is going to be at 2, minus 1 is at 9, 0, 10, 1 is 11, 2 is 18, and 3 is 37. Okay, and you want to try and join these up with a curve. It looks like an S, the cubic, like that. Sometimes you get a dip like that. On this one you don't. So let's try and join these up with one straight line. I've already broken that rule. Oh, it's not very easy on this. And I would say that that's good enough. There's a little bit of wiggle there, but I think I can get away with that. The important thing is it goes through all the points and it's just one straight line. You don't do any feathering, and feathering is where you go like this. You know, I've exaggerated it slightly, but you just want to draw one line. Okay, so it says use the graph to find out the value of x when y is 15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line across where y is 15. So y is 15 here. And the solution is going to be where the two lines hit. Now I think that's 1.7, so I'm going to go for 1.7 because it asks for one decimal place. Now normally with drawing questions, because people draw slightly different, normally there's a little bit of leeway in it, as long as you've used your graph and you've shown the examiner that you've used that line there.
Well, I hope you found that video useful. If you did, please click like. If you want to see more from us, including the other two papers, please click subscribe. We've got loads and loads of stuff on the website on maths.com, which you can go to here. which is completely free. But if you feel you're quite far behind in the maths, or you're not happy with the grades you're getting on onmaths.com or other mock papers you have, you can try out our premium service, which is mathseffect.co.uk. With mathseffect.co.uk, it's a small monthly fee, and you can do an annual subscription, but if you only want to do it up until November, which makes sense, you can just pay per month. And what it does is it has the whole of the Maths GCSE as a journey, and you go through each topic, mastering it one topic at a time. A lot of the students I talk to say, I really don't know where to start. Like, I keep doing Pythagoras and trigonometry over and over again, and I don't really know what else I don't know. This is a service which just covers everything. It makes sure you master and you are an expert in every topic in maths. So it's worth checking out. Loads of people have joined already, and if you haven't joined, go to the website mathseffect.co.uk or click the link in the description. That will take you straight there and you can check it out. Otherwise, thank you very much. If you want to leave a comment down below of anything you want us to cover, because we're desperate to help anyone who's been caught up in this terrible situation, which is not ideal for anyone, but equally, like, we all understand why it's happened. But if I was having to resit or having to sit for the first time in November, I would feel exactly the same as you are probably feeling. So if you want to leave any comments down below, and we might release some videos just discussing options that you have open, or whatever it might be. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.